Howdy. I thought I'd try and record a video just to run through some of the steps on how to completely thoroughly clean it and how to deal with common issues that I ran into a lot when I started using it. Just because I was talking to Owen about it as well, I thought I'd just record a little video because it probably save a little bit of time, and then it's the kind of thing you can go back and watch if and when you run into issues. So first off, I was just going to deal with stripping it down. I'll try and do this. I'm not I don't do a lot of videos like this, so I'm not going to be very good at it. But I'll run through how to completely dismantle it and clean it, because that is going to be what you're going to want to do pretty much every time you use it. So that's the airbrush. You've got at the front this little needle cover that comes off, just unscrews. Once this is exposed, be careful, because that's the very tip. That's the very tip of the needle there, and these are pretty fragile, can get bent pretty easily. Now, what took me an embarrassingly long time to realise is this also undoes. He says it's basically in two parts. Had to run off and unscrew it. Right, it's in two parts, which I hadn't realised for quite a long time. Now that's useful, A, for cleaning it, and B, for occasionally I will spray without this little end bit, because I find that sometimes paint can build up in this, and you don't need this bit when you're spraying. There are some benefits to keeping it on, and I'll come back to that later on. But for cleaning purposes, you can take this apart completely and then scrub inside both bits. I've got special cotton buds, which they weren't a lot. I got 800 for about £5, I think. These have less fluff on them, and also have a really nice pointy tip. But cotton buds you're going to want anyway. So with those, obviously you can just soak them in your airbrush cleaner and then just work them in there and scrub them out. Easy. The next thing you'd want to do is then unscrew this. God damn, I've tightened everything up too much. You can unscrew this back bit. This is where the needle's held, and this is, I think, called the needle chuck. This is what holds the needle in place. So you can unscrew that just half turn, and then pull this needle out. And again, be fairly careful with that, because these can get bent. And this is not very clean. But there's the needle. Again, super fragile, can be really sharp. I'm running the thickest needle here, which is 0.5 mil. For some reasons I'll come to later on, but they're particularly the kind of narrower ones will have a really sharp point. You can stab yourself with them. You can easily bend the tips, so be careful. What I generally do with these is, again, you'll see paint on them when you pull them out. I would usually get a bit of kitchen towel, spray some of your airbrush liquid on the kitchen towel, and then clean it off like that, and then put it to one side. Also, I'm not doing this by the sink, but usually what I'll do is I'll have a Tupperware pot to put everything in, because some of these bits are little and will 100% go down your fucking plug hole. So don't do that. Once that's out, that's, this is kind of mainly taken apart. A couple of things to watch out for. The little trigger is kind of spring loaded, and you can, like I've just done deliberately, pull it out of alignment. You can just feel it back into place. I might have to pause this and do it off camera. Okay, seamlessly edited there. I pulled it back a bit and pushed it down, and it locks back into place. The needle actually goes through that, I think, so it's important that you have that in place. When you're actually cleaning it, I would typically run your airbrush cleaner or iso alcohol in there and give it a bit of a, really just a scrub out with your thumb. You can use your little pipe cleaner brushes, I think, in that way. Maybe I've never done it that way, to be fair. Right here at the tip, you've got this little needle cap thing that you need this little spanner for. and you can just unscrew this and pop that off. That is super fiddly. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do this every time you clean it, but this can get blocked up with paint, and that will stop your airbrush running. So this little tool is super handy for this. It is just a spike, and I have predictably bent the tip on mine, but it still kind of works. Yeah. All you do with that is when you're doing your full clean down, is push that right in there, turn it around a few times. That should kind of clean out any issues you've got. When you put this back on, and this is important because I have ruined one of these before, you will need the little spanner to tighten it up, but it is super easy to over tighten and just shear that off. So, like, not a lot of pressure, yeah? Oh yeah, once you've got that tip off, that's what I meant to show you, I will show you again, is that's where you can like properly give it a scrub out from the inside. So you can use your these little pipe cleaners in conjunction with some airbrush cleaner and just pull that in and out of there a few times, yeah? Yeah, pretty much it, and then just quickly reassemble. So usually I've got to say now, like a proper kind of takedown and clean doesn't take a lot of time. You know, I sort of said under 5 minutes. That's probably overestimating, if anything. So to reassemble, I've got put the end tip back on, putting the needle back in. Be gentle with this because, like I say, if there's anything that obstructs it on the way through, like for example, you haven't unscrewed your needle chuck again, it's quite easy to bend the tip. So particularly, it's just, here we go. My trigger was out of alignment. Right, there we go. Push it all the way through, and you'll see the tip come out of the far end. Apologies for this video angle. That bit back on there. If you're not aware, you probably should be, but this little dial at the end helps determine how far back you can pull the trigger. And because I'm absolutely useless at doing any kind of finesse, I tend to figure out how much, like basically dial it out to the most, the kind of amount of paint that I'm going to want it to spray out at any one time. And then I just pull the trigger back and let it go. Some people that are much better than me will kind of, just pull the trigger back a small amount to let the right amount of paint out that they want. I don't do that. I just hold down the trigger like I'm a door gunner. Cool. And then these bits screw back on. And then you're good to go next time. I think it's always worth like properly cleaning it down because there's nothing more frustrating than going, right, I'm going to sit down and spend half an hour priming a load of stuff and then flooding it up with paint, setting everything up, pulling the trigger, and it sputters and doesn't really come out. So yeah, it's definitely worth putting the time in. So with that in mind, if you get stoppages while you're actually painting, generally I find if it's been kind of working fine and then it's got sputtery, probably what's happened is the tip's got paint dried on it, because effectively paint's kind of going out past the needle and it can gather on the tip of that and then dry out. So one way to help prevent that, I mean, make sure your kind of paint is thinned as much as you can get away with. The other way is generally, if you keep spraying, it won't dry out. So I do try and make sure that when I go, I can do everything that I want to do in one go. So like I airbrushed the entirety of my Into the Dark terrain, and I pretty much just did it in one go. I just loaded up with the Vallejo metal colours, which are extremely good to the airbrush, and then just kind of like just did everything in one go, and didn't have any problems. So you can just get your cotton bud with some IPA or airbrush cleaner and just go in to the tip and go around the outside. Again, don't go too hard because you can bend the tip. You can unscrew that and clean it out that way. Times that I've been having a lot of problems before, I've just unscrewed that completely and then just gone in with the damp tip on the cotton bud and cleaned it off. Other than that, if I'm still getting stoppages, one thing I will often do is unscrew that just a tiny bit and just like pull that back just a fraction, just to, like, if there's anything lodged in that bit there, just to try and dislodge it. I would say if you're still having problems after both of those things, you are probably best just to empty your paint out, go and do a proper thorough clean. That's pretty much it. A couple other little just tips. I tend to, well, I've got a load of stuff in squeezy bottles for a start. That's a super handy tip. I tend to, whenever I'm about to start painting, the first thing that I'll put in here is a couple of drops of thinner first, and then whatever else I'm adding. Obviously if I'm using like a non-airbrush paint, I'll need to thin it a lot more, but I'll usually just put thinner in there first. And to mix anything that's in the bowl, if you cover, provided you've got this cover on, don't do it if you've got a bare needle, if you've got that cover on, cover that with your finger, then slowly push down on the trigger and pull back, and that will basically push the air through this paint reservoir instead of out the tip, so it will bubble up and mix it together, and then you just can go from there. When I'm finished, what I'll tend to do is, when I've got like paint and stuff in there, I'll go in there with water first. I will rinse it and just dump the paint out somewhere. I do that a few times, and then what I'll probably do is I've got another bottle full of my airbrush cleaner, which is, like I say, diluted by down to about 40%, and I'll often then kind of put a fair amount in this, and then just open this up full and just run the whole thing of airbrush cleaner through it into my little that capture pot that I've sent a link to, so you don't get fumes everywhere. And then I'll go and clean it all down properly at the sink, take it all apart and everything, but just to get most of that paint out and everything. That's pretty much it. I'm sure as soon as I press stop, I'll remember a ton more stuff, but hopefully that is some help. Cheers, bye.